Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in the bottom left-hand side Anxiety, our diamond level Protoss. His opponent in the top right is a platinum level Zerg by the name of BigFatFatty. However, Anxiety is part of Fat Virgin Gaming, a clan that's putting together a website. They sent me this really cool replay featuring Anxiety showing off the 7-gate Immortal all-in. It's designed to be versing Zerg, it's designed to work in Wings of Liberty, and it's designed to hit like a ton of bricks at the 9 to 10 minute mark, which is specifically really good if you're versing a Zerg that's going greedy towards Mutalisks. If you struggle against those Zergs that are getting out that early Mutalisk timing that harass you because you have so many different bases, this is totally a very powerful build that you can use if you are Protoss. That being said, it's not for everybody. Obviously, it takes some finesse and it requires you to stick to a rather strenuous build order. However, it's just an order. Don't worry too much about any numbers that I throw out here, any supply counts for whenever you throw down a supply depot. Don't worry about it. Just go with the order. That being said, 9 pylon being thrown down on the low ground. It is going to be a Nexus first build. There will be a 17 Nexus following up this pylon. Anxiety is going to be moving out with his probe just to see exactly what sort of shenanigans the Zerg is getting up to. BigFatFatty is going to oblige us by not rushing towards a tin pool, which is something you might run into on the ladder. You show up and you see a spawning pool just about to finish. Instead of throwing down a Nexus, throw up a Forge and work on completing that wall off ASAP. Then sit back and relax knowing that you have a rather strong macro lead. Your economy is going to be significantly stronger than your enemy because he cut so many probes to get out the spawning pool at such an early time. That being said, BigFatFatty is going to oblige us. He's going to get out a 15 supply spawning pool followed by a 15 supply hatchery, so we really don't have to worry about too much of an early rush, and we're not going to be paying too much attention to what's going on that side of the camp. Anxiety is quickly approaching that 17 supply mark. After the Nexus is thrown down at the 17 supply mark, he's going to throw a Forge and another pylon at the 17 supply also. That's going to keep him from being supply blocked. Also start the tech of that Forge so they can get the photon cannon up to keep that door well secured back at home. It's going to be sending down that probe any second now, and you want to start sending that probe at about the 300 minerals, but that's splitting hairs by any stretch of the imagination. End result is you want your probe here when you have 400 minerals so that you can throw down that Nexus, then immediately throw up that Forge and then a photon cannon once that Forge finishes. Because of this right here, Anxiety kind of slips up on that pylon placement. He does wind up getting supply blocked for like 15 seconds. It's no big deal by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that you don't want to mimic whenever you're trying to learn this build. Just instead of doing that, just realize that that hatchery is going to go down regardless, and realize that it's more important for you not to get supply blocked than it is to deny the hatchery back at home, arguably. Pylon goes down immediately thereafter. You want to throw down a gateway at the 18 supply mark, and then once the Forge is done, throw up a pylon right behind that. This gateway completes the wall off. There's a very small gap up just in the north of it. Depending on the map you're on, this gap could be larger or smaller, and that's totally easy for you to deal with. You've got the gateway here, you've got these 2 pylons that can be added into that, and also you need to get a Cybernetic core eventually, so you might as well add it into the wall if this wall off wasn't complete. The reason I've paused it is because a couple of things happened here. Gateway gets thrown down, 2 assimilators need to get thrown up by the time you hit the 20 supply mark. Traditionally, I wait around the 20 supply mark, but 18 supply is just fine too. Just remember to get them in the right order. The gateway before both of those assimilators. Once you get those assimilators up, fully saturate them, start on that gas income. Once this Nexus is done, begin that saturation. You want to stop producing probes when you get to the 45 supply mark for those probes. Once the 2 assimilators are done, you want to start producing your Cybernetics core as soon as the gateway is done, as well as that first Zealot coming out of the gateway. Cybernetics core is pretty important, obviously. First Zealot's very important because that Zealot's going to be rallied over here to check out the third. It's very important to check out that third because it's going to tell you if you're dealing with a 2-base Zerg all-in or a more macro-style Zerg, which is what this build is supposed to fight against. Here's another sort of branching off point, different areas that you can kind of focus on. I like to play with lots of upgrades. I like to spend my first 100 gas on a +1 weapons attack out of the Forge. That being said, once the Cybernetics core is done, you can produce a Stalker off of the 50 gas that you'll have accumulated after you spent that first 100 gas. And you get out a Stalker from that. However, You can also choose to spend all that extra gas on a sentry and get out a lot of extra sentries so that you can have many force fields to throw down. Just purely depends on how much APM you want to blow on a fight at any given moment. Personally, I don't like having to spend a lot of APM on fights, but some people do. Once the Cybernetics core is done, you want to get out that Stalker or Sentry, depending on your style, and start immediately on the Warp Gate tech. And then the next big thing you're going to construct is the robotics facility thereafter. Robotics facility should be thrown down between the 35 and 40 supply mark, traditionally the 38, but it doesn't matter at all. That Zealot, like I said, is moving off down to the right side to check out that third. Just wants to see exactly what the Zerg is doing. Even if you don't see anything here, poking at the front. See what exactly is poking up here. If you see a bunch of static defenses like spine crawlers, you're going to know that they're not producing a lot of ground units to defend their base. He's teching. He's going for those mutas that we were talking about. And we can cheat. We can look over here at the production tab and see there's a spine crawler there. No problem at all. Third and fourth assimilator are getting thrown up. You also want to throw down 3 extra gateways as soon as the robotics facility is thrown down. So, Two more assimilators down at the Nexus, and 3 more gateways are next on the docket. Once the robotics facility comes out, you want to be constantly producing immortals out of the robotics facility. You want 3 of them before you move out, depending. You can move out with 2 if the map is super large and you have many pylons positioned along the way to kind of continuously reinforce your units. Both assimilators are now up, and by both I mean all 4 of them. You want to produce 3 more gateways down in the main base, and again, just constantly produce those immortals. We can see the first one is on the production tab. +1 weapons is going out. We have 2 sentries out right now, a 3rd one on the way. This is absolutely brutal if you have so many sentries out and they've been accumulating a lot of extra energy. It's going to allow you to throw down a bunch of extra force fields, making it so you can cut up any Zerglings that happen to be lying around into very manageable chunks and chew them to pieces with the immortals, the stalkers, and whatnot. Immediately starting a 2nd immortal as soon as the first one pops out, and staying right on top of those chrono boosts are very important. Those 3 gateways will be finishing at about the 7:30 mark is when you want to start them. About the 8:30, maybe 9-minute mark is when they're going to be finishing. You want to start gateways 5, 6, and 7 as soon as Warp Gate finishes up, and move out. You should have 2 immortals by that point. Here's 5, 6, and 7 gateways. +1 will be finishing in a relatively short amount of time. You've got quite a lot of sentries out there. Warp Gate has now finished, so Anxiety is all set to push out and actually start doing some damage. That being said, he's kind of sitting around relaxing, waiting for those 3 gateways to finish, waiting for that +1 to finish, just a little bit more passive than how I would have played it. Again, this is really a build that allows you to show off your personality, show off the way you want to play this game. If you want to be cautious, you can play it like Anxiety's doing. The Warp Prism is awesome, and this is rather traditional. Once you get that 3rd immortal, you produce the Warp Prism to allow you to not only do some really nice micro where you pick up the immortals at the front door, but more importantly, continually reinforce with all those 7 gates this slow and ponderous ball. Don't produce any more sentries, it's too late. You want to produce stalkers, you want to produce zealots now, because they can be instantly available and ready to fight. Sentries are most powerful when they've been out for a little while and have accumulated some extra energy. I mean, look at all that purple on all those sentries. It's absolutely powerful how much extra energy they have there, especially whenever you factor in the +1, especially when you factor in the stalkers that are going to be using and abusing the force fields that are going to be thrown down by those sentries. Warp Prism is going to be instantly available to warp in a lot of extra units, and also will allow you to do some pressure up on the high ground, even if you don't manage to push in. But at this point, Anxiety has an overwhelmingly superior force against BigFatFatty, and is really just going to be doing quite a lot of extra damage against all of these overlords. Oh my goodness, that is so loud. I hate that bug that makes it so loud after you force fast forward and rewind. I have to shout to hear myself talk. But, I mean, you know what I'm saying. Do I really need to show you the rest of this replay? It's absolutely brutal. You have this enormous force. This is incredibly powerful by showing the force fields on the high ground, and making it so that any zealots or zerglings that were being produced up in Big Fat Fatty's base would have to push down. But this is really all that Big Fat Fatty has to offer. It looks like he was teching towards the what are they called? Swarm hosts. Anything that Big Fat Fatty was trying to push for, any sort of tech, any sort of greedy play, is going to have to deal with this. And this is just so powerful. He had a hidden base in the top left-hand side. He had managed to grab the third. But, there's nothing you can do to absolutely stop this. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. To recap, guys, go for that Nexus first at the 17 supply mark. Get your Forge, get your Pylon, get your Gateway and your Photon Cannon to complete that wall off. Cybernetics Core, tech up to all 4 gases going at full mode. Robotics Facility, about the 38 supply mark. You want to leave once you have 3 Immortals, maybe just 2 depending on the size of the map. And also have 7 gateways ready to warp in at a moment's notice, and then produce up that warp prism. And you can actually see that the warp prism was being used to warp in stuff. That's it for me. If you like this, be sure to, comment. But more importantly, stop by FvG Gaming's website. And if you do want to stop by, feel free to click the cat's face. I'm going to put a little annotation there to take you right to that website. Hats off to Anxiety. Well done. And I really hope that this comes back into play, because it's a really good build, and I feel like it would equalize some of the disparities between Zerg in the early game. It's a little too powerful right now. Regardless, I'll see you guys later. I am Big and Scary. Bye.